the BizPack Review, Erin Elmore. She also hosts a new podcast there. We're also joined by radio host and Project 21 National Advisory Board member Christopher Arps. Panel, great to have you on this morning. Good to see you both.
Thank you.
The Biden administration, they've tried to convince the American people for months now that it is the war in Ukraine that is the reason behind record high gas prices here in the U.S. Take a listen.
Putin's invasion of Ukraine has driven up gas prices and food prices all over the world.
How inflation has escalated over the past 18 months. Would you say that the war in Ukraine is the primary driver of inflation in America?
No, inflation was high before, certainly before the war in Ukraine broke out.
Administration deal with that today. Gas prices, the national average on February 24th. That's the day the invasion began, $4.40 a gallon.
I mean, this is a big problem for this administration. I know they like to use alliteration with Putin's price hike, but when people are watching the television at home and going to the gas pump and see empty shelves at the grocery store and worry about the border crisis, I think they see the truth and they realize the truth and they know we are being lied to. And Jerome Powell saying this isn't the driver of inflation. He is a neutral person within this government, within this, sort of fictional story that Washington is sort of playing for us. And the problems are going to really be quite transparent and apparent in November when people go to the polls and vote. We're already starting to see the trends now. People want to see a change. We don't want this green energy farce when we don't have the infrastructure to back it up. We want our own domestic oil production to be available. Joe Biden talks about gas leases. By the way, the leases aren't the wells that drill. So his problems and his lies are compounding, and the American people are starting to realize, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Chris, he said it was transitory. He's blamed COVID. He's blamed Putin. And he's blaming now oil execs, right? So when he got
inflation back down to 2%. And I'm sitting there, and I don't think anybody caught that, but I'm saying, whoa. No, not 2%. It was 1.4% on Donald Trump's last day in office, Joe Biden's first day in office. Why not get it back down to where it was? I don't want 2% inflation. I want 1.4% inflation. And forget about where we are right now, 8.6% inflation. But so today, Joe Biden is inviting oil executives, Erin, to the White House. All right, they're going to be there for a meeting with Jennifer Granholm, who is our energy secretary, but doesn't have any experience working in the energy industry. He's not going to meet in person with these executives, so he's not going to walk down the hall to meet with them, but he's going to fly 10,000 miles to Saudi Arabia to meet with the Saudi Crown Prince to beg him to increase production. How does that make any sense?
It makes absolutely no sense, but nothing that this administration does makes any sense. By the way, inflation, as you were just talking about, is the highest it's been in 40 years. Yeah. That is a staggering number, and this administration can't do anything about it. And Jerome Powell, as I said, as a neutral body, is trying to find a way to change, and that's why interest rates are rising. By the way, there's no other way to combat this inflation because our White House isn't doing it. They keep printing money at record rates, knowing that that's going to cause more inflation. And by the way, for people that are watching at home, that's what communist countries and socialist countries like Venezuela do. They print so much money, they devalue the currency, and they create massive inflation, which destroys the country. So if something doesn't change quickly, we are on a very negative trajectory. But back to your conversation about oil. So yes, our president is having all of these oil executives here at home who can actually make a difference. Maybe he could say to them, hey, let's reduce regulation. Let's stop some of this litigation and allow you to drill more oil here at home. But no, he won't say that. He won't open the Keystone Pipeline. Instead, he's going to go to Saudi Arabia and blame countries that don't allow gay marriage and don't allow women to go to school or drive to beg them for more oil. So really, we are living in a world and in a country with absolutely no logic or rationale that's going to help our own people here at home.
Yeah, Chris, the president said it. He's going to do everything possible, right, to get gas prices down, to get inflation down. But he's not meeting with them. He sent them a letter. So
September, just before the midterms. So right before people go to cast their ballot in the midterms, gas prices are going to skyrocket again. How does that make any political sense? Suspended for 6 months.
Well, I mean, of course, once again, you're back on the logic. Things that make sense don't happen in this administration. But there's been some clips circulating on social media recently, and President Biden said it. It pains me to call him that, by the way, President Biden. Joe Biden already predicted the next pandemic. So honestly, call me super right-wing, call me a tinfoil hat crazy. Joe Biden has gone on television and said, we need more money because we need to prepare for the next pandemic. I would be shocked if these lockdowns and these reasons to stay home and fears start happening just before the midterm.
I call it the midterm variant. and it's coming.
Right.
Just wait. The
There you go.
midterm variant. It's out there. We're going to see it over the next 4 months. Yeah, he's asking for trillions of dollars to address the next once-in-a-century pandemic.
Right.
Top of the hour, Erin Elmore, Chris Arps. Look forward to that. Thank you. Let's welcome Alex Kramer, and she's got a look at headlines. Hey, Alex. Project 21 National Advisory Board member Chris Arps back with us. Chris, how does this make any sense?
Well, if you look at the Biden administration, a lot of what they do doesn't make sense. So this.
I mean, he sent a letter to them last week, which basically the oil execs were like, okay, what do you want us to do? Why do you think he's not meeting with them? Because we've heard him say he's going to do everything possible to get gas prices down.
Because our president doesn't want to be in touch with the realities of what's going on in our country. Instead, he wants the optics of going to the Middle East and trying to put on a show that he's, air quotes, trying to do something to help the American people. But as we know, the damage has already been done. He closed the Keystone Pipeline. There are massive restrictions on oil producers here in the States. He talks about the leases, but the leases aren't the wells. So everything he's saying is just shrouded with lies. And so if he has to sit down and meet with these people, they're going to try to present real life, actual solutions to help the American people. And that's not what he wants, because he wants to push this Green New Deal agenda that's just not working. And it's not, we don't have the proper infrastructure, and we don't have anything really in place to implement the policies that they want to employ. And so this is really a massive problem for Joe Biden. Instead of addressing it, he deflects with Ukraine and the alliteration of Putin's price hike. But we all know that that's not what is going on here at home. And the people are feeling it at the pump. And by the way, I just looked it up. We were talking about the Westminster Dog Show and the barrels around the St. Bernard's neck. They say it's a long Swiss tradition of brandy. So now you have your answer.
You guys were telling me, you were
was
like, it's
right.
not
He said
booze. I was like,
rum.
no, it's like, I know it's some kind of booze. It was like, because brandy, because it's so cold, it was supposed to be like, it's freezing out, you know, have a little winter warmer, that type of thing. Right?
Hey, Robin,
So it's
during
the
the.
St. Bernard with,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
sorry, Chris, go ahead.
I was saying, if you watch some of the old Warner Brother cartoons when they'd have the Saint Bernard with the barrel around his neck,
Right.
The Saint Bernard would go rescue the person, and then he would make a martini for the person that
Right.
he was
It's
rescuing.
drinking
That's a good
Manhattans,
dog.
like one of the characters in Frozen out there.
Right.
Yeah, I might get a St.
Let's
Bernard.
go back to those cartoons before they were woke.
Yeah, exactly. Those old ones, totally. By the way, on what planet? So on Inauguration Day, gas was $2.39 a gallon. If they lowered it by 18 cents when it was $2.39, I would have been like, "This is awesome!" Like, you know, I can go wherever I want this summer and not worry about it. Tickets to fly somewhere would be cheap again. 18 cents, not a lot of money. I told this story this morning in the newsroom, but I gave a homeless guy, all I had in my pocket was a nickel. Right, so I walked by and he had a cup, and I put a nickel in, and then I just continued walking. And I heard him say as I walked by, he goes, "A nickel." And I was like, "That's," you know, I just felt bad because I was like, "That's all I had." Like, I literally all I had was one nickel. But if a homeless guy thinks a
inflation,
nickel's not
buddy.
very much,
Right,
you know,
it's
Americans
not-
Americans that have jobs and are working every day don't think 18 cents is very much. The administration, though, let's not forget, Erin, it was a year ago. Look at this tweet. 4th of July weekend 1 year ago, when Dr. Fauci said, if you're wearing a mask, you can go outside with your family, maybe for a few minutes. They literally told us that we could go outside on the 4th of July. But the administration said, guess what? We're doing such a good job that we are going to save you 16 cents over what you paid in last year's 4th of July barbecue. Now,
So embarrassing that they're trying to push this agenda of these small nominal amounts as significant. And by the way, when President Trump created a massive tax cut that actually infused cash into our economy, helped people hire more employees, and really did create the great economy that we had under President Trump. Do you remember what Nancy Pelosi called President Trump's tax cut, which was thousands of dollars? She called that crumbs. So what are we talking about here? If thousands of dollars are crumbs and now they're splitting hairs, well, 18 cents, 30 cents, 50 cents, $20 a month, how do they have the audacity to try to spin this? I mean, it's almost like they don't look back at anything they said less than 18 months ago.
Yeah.
This is actually crumbs.
and we've all
not
been
what
so
President Trump-
gaslit, Chris, that we're like, you know, we have to say, oh, well, $10 a month, I'll take whatever I can get. You know what? Honestly, keep it. Keep it. Keep gas at $4.94 a gallon where it is today. I don't need it at $4.75 a gallon. Keep it. All right. Do something legitimate for the American people.
And we played this clip yesterday on the radio show. You know who else called it a gimmick back in 2008? candidate Barack Obama when Senator John McCain suggested maybe a gas tax holiday. We all know this is not going anywhere. Steny Hoyer and Nancy Pelosi have both said that they don't agree with this. They know that this will undercut the $1 trillion stimulus, infrastructure plan. Where's the money going to come from if you cut this tax temporarily? This is going no one party is not behind it.
Chris, Allison and I were streaming your radio show yesterday. Take a listen.
But for us to suggest that 30 cents a day for 3 months is real relief, that's a real energy policy, means that we are not tackling the problem that has to be tackled.
I wonder if what former President Obama is doing now when he heard that, this gas tax may take effect. So, yeah, I mean, look, if you save $10 a month, you can save up to buy that $65,000 electric car that the Biden administration wants you to buy. But even if you had that money, Erin, there aren't enough electric cars to go around for people to buy.
And the batteries are made in communist China with slave labor. By the way, watching that 2008 clip of Barack Obama, thought a few things. One, he's sitting in Martha's Vineyard doing nothing these days other than bloviating and lying about the things he used to say. And two, he was an excellent public speaker. But unfortunately, we signed up for hope and change with Barack Obama, and all we got was more IRS agents and greater problems. But what he said then, I would love someone to ask him how he feels about that now. But we already know it'll just be more gaslighting, more lies, and he'll say something like Trump, Trump, Trump 3 times like you say Beetlejuice, and think that it can negate all of the things he said before, and they don't matter anymore.
Yeah, by the way, so that was 2008. That's not 2012. He was a senator at that time. It was rhetoric like that got him elected.
Absolutely.
It was rhetoric like that got him elected. He beat John McCain with talk like that. And now we want, and by the way, McCain was proposing it would have been a 30-cent gas tax holiday today. Thank you, Chris. We'll see you again real soon. BizPack Review, Erin Elmore, and radio host and Project 21 National Advisory Board member Christopher Arps. You invite somebody really important to your house, especially if that person is really important right now, for lunch or dinner or whenever this meeting is going to happen today, and you don't show up. What message does that send to them?
I don't think that President Biden wants to have these hard conversations, because then the American people will realize exactly what's going on in our country. President Biden is single-handedly responsible for what's going on. This isn't a Putin price hike, although it's a lovely alliteration. This is harming our gas industry here in the United States. We were energy independent under President Trump. We were exporting oil, but he shut down the Keystone Pipeline. Our oil industry is regulated to the hills, and now we see these problems. And all President Biden doing now is creating this gas holiday, if you will, and it isn't going to help the American people. 18 cents a gallon. This isn't going to be any sort of respite here at home. And when people go to the gas station, or they think about the border, or they look at their shelves and the baby formula crisis and everything that's missing from our shelves, and by the way, how expensive everything has become. These are the hard issues that our president has to confront, but instead, he just simply deflects. So no, President Biden is not going to be meeting with oil executives today because the conversations are too hard. Instead, he's jetting off to the Middle East to talk about God knows what, other than importing Saudi Arabian oil in a country that doesn't allow gay marriage, doesn't allow women to drive. So really, there are a lot of issues here that we're dealing with at home. And instead, he's jetting off to talk to Middle Eastern leaders. And all I have to say is, November can't come soon enough. Hopefully we take these issues straight to the polls and see some big changes. A lot of people voting a straight Republican ticket, because that's the only way these problems are going to stop.
Yeah. Chris, he thought it was so important to write a letter to these oil companies last week. He's the president of the United States, and he said that he's going to do everything he can to get these gas prices under control.
By the way, Joe Biden's got a 1960s Corvette. Okay, Hunter Biden's got a Porsche. This is not a family that cares a great deal about electric cars, Erin.
Of course not. We also know that they push gun control, and we know about Hunter's issues with having an illegal firearm. What they do is say one thing and do something completely opposite. We've also seen this with our climate czar, John Kerry, who's saying that we need to reduce emissions and be more green. Well, he's flying around on private jets, living in beautiful big homes that are oceanfront, and they say that we're not going to have coastlines in 5 to 10 years. So honestly, this is the administration that says, do as I say, not as I do. And it's very sad, but it's true. And I do think that the American people are starting to see this. And that's what the polls are reflecting. faith in President Joe Biden is at an all-time low. His approval ratings are at an all-time low. So let's just see what happens again in November.
All right, Allison, should we go back a year in time and listen to a funny soundbite about saving cents on the dollar? This administration thinks cents on the dollar count. Don't insult the intelligence of the American people. All right, 18 cents when gas costs $5 a gallon is not going to help anyone do anything. Okay.
The invasion of Ukraine has driven up gas prices and food prices all over the world.
Although it sounds nice, it doesn't make it true. We've known that this White House has tried to be cheeky with their expressions, whether it's the MAGA king or the Putin price hike or the American people are feeling a certain way. None of it is true. And I think that this is having such an impact. And that's why these Rasmussen numbers are so low across the board for Joe Biden. When we go to the grocery store and see the empty shelves, when we go to the gas station and see how expensive gas is, the American people are no longer believing the rhetoric and lies coming out of Washington, period. Hard stop.
Agreed.
There's still a baby formula shortage.
Yeah.
Let's not forget about that.
Yeah. Chris,
More
I would just
shortages
say,
to come.
we got to leave it there. But Chris, if you and your lovely wife invited me to dinner at your house and didn't show up, I'd be so upset. Erin Elmore, Chris Arps, great to see you. Thank you. Chris, feel better.
Yes.
Thanks.